Before going forward, please make sure that you have watched the first part of this video. The first night, Danning trauma. The young man entered the study and sat slouched in a chair. Why was he so determined to reject the philosopher's theories? His reasons were evidently clear. He lacked self-confidence, and ever since childhood, this had been compounded by deep-seated feelings of inferiority with regard to his personal and academic backgrounds, as well as his physical appearance. Perhaps as a result, he tended to be excessively self-conscious when people looked at him. Mostly, he seemed incapable of truly appreciating other people's happiness and was constantly pitying himself. To him, the philosopher's claims were nothing more than the stuff of fantasy. The unknown third giant, youth. A moment ago, you used the word another philosophy, but I have heard that your specialty is in Greek philosophy. Philosopher. Yes, Greek philosophy has been central to my life ever since I was a teenager. The great intellectual figures Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. I am translating a work by Plato at the moment, and I expect to spend the rest of my life studying classical Greek thought. Youth. Well then, what is this other philosophy? Philosopher. It is a completely new school of psychology that was established by the Austrian psychiatrist Alfred Adler at the beginning of the 20th century. It is generally referred to as Adlerian psychology. Youth. Haha. I never would have imagined that a specialist in Greek philosophy would be interested in psychology. Philosopher. I am not very familiar with paths taken by other schools of psychology. However, I think it is fair to say that Adlerian psychology is clearly in line with Greek philosophy and that it is a proper field of study. Youth. I have a passing knowledge of the psychology of Freud and Jung. A fascinating field. Philosopher. Yes, Freud and Jung are both renowned. Adler was one of the original core members of the Vienna Psychoanalytic Society, which was led by Freud. His ideas were counter to Freud's, and he split from the group and proposed an individual psychology based on his own original theories. Youth. Individual psychology. Another odd term. So, Adler was a disciple of Freud's. Philosopher. No, he was not. That misconception is common. We must dispel it. For one thing, Adler and Freud were relatively close in age, and the relationship they formed as researchers was founded upon equal footing. In this respect, Adler was very different from Jung, who revered Freud as a father figure. Thought psychology primarily tends to be associated with Freud and Jung. Adler is recognized throughout the rest of the world, along with Freud and Jung, as one of the three giants in this field. Youth. I see I should have studied it more. Philosopher. I suppose it's only natural you have not heard of Adler. As he himself said, there might come a time when one will not remember my name. One might even have forgotten that our school ever existed. Then he went on to say that it did not matter. The implication began that if his school were forgotten, it would be because his ideas had outgrown the bounds of a single area of scholarship and become commonplace and a feeling shared by everyone. For example, Dale Carnegie, who wrote the international bestsellers How to Win Friends and Influence People and How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, referred to Adler as a great psychologist who devoted his life to researching humans and their latent abilities. The influences of Adler's thinking is clearly present throughout his writings, and in Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, much of the content closely resembles Adler's ideas. In other words, rather than being a strict area of scholarship, Adlerian psychology is accepted as a realization, a culmination of truth and of human understanding. Yet, Adler's ideas are said to have been 100 years ahead of their time, and even today we have not managed to fully comprehend them. Then is how truly groundbreaking they are. Youth. So your theories are developed not from Greek philosophy initially, but from the viewpoint of Adlerian psychology. Philosopher. Yes, that's right. Youth. Okay, there is one more thing. I had liked to ask about your basic stance. Are you a philosopher or are you a psychologist? Philosopher. I am a philosopher, a person who lives philosophy. And for me, Adlerian psychology is a form of thought that is in line with Greek philosophy. And that is philosophy. Youth. Alright then, let's get started.